Hey, everybody, what's going on? Of course, this is your Sactown Sports Kings post-game recap here on a tough Thursday night. Of course, we had some technical difficulties. We appreciate you guys for waiting and hopping on here. But obviously, a tough loss, 125-110. Kings go down to the Memphis Grizzlies. And look, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories to this game, I thought. A lot of things to talk about. Feel free to weigh in on the comments on the YouTube page. I can see all of them as you plop in there and take a look at this recap show and get your thoughts about what went down tonight and what went wrong tonight, frankly. Looking around, let's first start off with this. Defensive issues. And this is going to be a story throughout this season. We all know that. And again, the defense, I thought, let this team down. You give up a $125, and the Grizzlies are a good offensive team, and we all know that. But the problem is when you're looking at it tonight, Ja Morant scores 22. So Morant scores 22, and you still give up a $125, which is it's an inexcusable situation. And Chris White jumps in and says, again, no defense, too many turnovers. Turnovers killed them in the fourth quarter. MC Calcium, yep, we kanged. We lost. I thought I was bringing home a win earlier today on Cattles and Rami here at Sactown Sports. But, when you look at this, the problems just, they stack up. And when they start to pile up, it's really difficult to overcome so many things that can go wrong for you. Defensively, let's start there with the defensive issues that I saw tonight. Dribble drives, way too many dribble drives throughout this game, but especially in the second half, especially in the third quarter early on, and in the fourth quarter about midway through to the rest of the game. A lot of dribble drives. And the Grizzlies were touching the paint, whether they were finishing at the rim, they're getting fouled, they're kicking out for threes, the drive and kicks, the drives and finishes at the bucket. Too many paint touches, 1 billion points in the paint again against the Kings, which is become all too common. I mean, they give up way too many points in the paint. It's easy buckets for the opposition. It kills runs that you might be trying to have. And you start scoring some buckets and feel good about yourself. And on the other end, you're just giving up way too many easy baskets. And you cannot get on great runs and keep momentum if you keep giving up these buckets on the other end. And you're not making teams work for them. And even worse for the Kings tonight, especially in the fourth quarter, they made the Grizzlies work a couple of times on some possessions. And man, just a couple of killer shots that were made. Bane hit a huge three, great defensive possession. The Kings did everything right. That way you got to, tip your cap. But other than that, just the defense not there. Dribble drives, the kickouts, turnovers into transition baskets really hurt them. They started to make a run in the fourth quarter. They got sloppy. They turned the basketball over a few times. They missed some shots. They started to press. And on the other end, Memphis starts scoring, and all of a sudden it starts to roll downhill, and you've lost all momentum. So turnovers into transition baskets absolutely killed them. Something else. And Jeremy Carr, my guy Jeremy Carr, just pointed this out on the chat. And again, YouTube chat, you can put your thoughts down in there, and I'll see them, and I'll comment on them. Here's Jeremy Carr's comments that you guys can see here. Not seeing the intensity to win. Rebounding. The rebounding killed them. Jeremy, you're right. The rebounding absolutely killed them, especially in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. Second chance points. They come up with the initial stop, and Memphis gets a rebound. They get a bucket, and then all of a sudden, you get another offensive rebound or two. You get a three off of it. So the defensive rebounding for the Kings killed them, absolutely murdered them tonight in the fourth quarter. It's just, these little things, guys, when they pile up, they start to pile up. So the switching defense, I thought at times, miscommunication. You saw some of the miscommunication when they're trying to switch. They're also not the biggest team in the world, which we've talked about an awful lot on the show. And when you're not a big team, you're undersized. When you're switching, sometimes you end up with mismatches, and those mismatches will hurt you. So that was another issue defensively. The other thing that I wanted to talk about at the top here, and I'm sure many of you saw this during the game, and I'm sure many of you were texting your friends, you were tweeting about it, you were talking about it, Mike Brown's rotations. Now, look, I understand that the rotations are going to be all over the place when the bench is not scoring, when the bench is not performing. I get that. What you saw tonight was a coaching staff, was a head coach that was scrambling to try to figure out combinations off the bench that were going to work. And he had a really tough time finding that combination in the first half. When you look at the first half, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. When you look at the differential between the bench and the starters in that first half, okay? Try to absorb these numbers. In the first half, your starters, plus 22. So at halftime, you're starting 5. Fox, Herter, Keegan, Barnes, Domas. You're starting 5, a plus 22 on the plus minus. Do you know what the bench was? The bench plus minus in the first half of this game was minus 57. So your starters are plus 22. Your bench is minus 57. You have no chance if your bench is giving you minus 57 in the plus minus. No chance whatsoever to win a basketball game if you have that kind of differential. The bench was that bad. A minus 57 in the first half. They couldn't make shots. They couldn't come up with stops. The rotation is all over the place. Coach Brown he's trying to figure it out. He's desperate to find somebody. To be able to score and shoot at the 3 and 4. And so when you look at this, you put Keegan into the starting lineup, which I agree with. And I think all of us said it's time. Keegan's got to start, right? Now you look at it, and I mentioned this on the show today. How do you replace Keegan coming off of the bench? What do you do to replace those minutes that Keegan was going to give you off of the bench? And so tonight, it wasn't KZ Okpala. KZ Okpala, he hit mothballs. That KZ Okpala on the back of a milk carton. It's official. Like he is out of the rotation. He was out of the rotation tonight. KZ went from starting on Sunday night against Golden State, playing 3 minutes in the first quarter, playing a minute the rest of the game, to not playing tonight. Okpala is officially out of the rotation. So that leaves you with Metu. It leaves you with Monecki. It leaves you with maybe going small with Terrence Davis. This is something that myself and Rami talked about on the show today. Who was going to be able to grab those wing minutes? And the answer was really, in the first half, nobody. I thought Metu gave you a little something in the second half. He's not a very good offensive player. He's a poor shooter. We all know that, right? But he defended, and I thought he gave you a couple of quality minutes. But here's the killer, and here's my problem with the rotations. Here's the problem. When you put 2 guys in the lineup that can't score, sometimes 3 guys, I don't have an issue with Coach Brown scrambling to try to find bench help. I don't have a problem with him scrambling to try to find the right combination. I did have a problem with putting Monecki and Metu on the floor at the same time. That's a killer. That can't happen. You can't have Monecki and Metu on the floor at the same time. That's inexcusable. Unless the entire team got hurt and you have to put those 2 guys in the game at the same time, there's literally no reason why you should be playing Monecki and Metu at the same time, because now you have 2 guys that have no chance of scoring the basketball consistently. They can't shoot. They can't score. You're playing 3-on-5 offensively. And when you're playing 3-on-5 offensively, guess what? Your offense is going to stall. Don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that, right? So that was a big-time issue in this game. It wasn't only the bench and the rotations. It was the fact that, when you look at it, the combinations of non-scorers out there on the floor at the same time killed them tonight. Let's take a look at Vangarang, if I pronounce that correctly. Damn, so many second chance points in their open threes. Yeah, the second chance points just murdered them. Absolutely murdered them. It's so rough. It's so rough. And the J-Man weighing in here. Love everyone at Sactown Sports. We love you as well, J-Man. Listen every morning and afternoon. We appreciate you. Watch almost every game. Being a Kings fan is bad for my mental health. I will not watch another game until they hit 500. Yeah, an 0-4 start. And we knew it was going to be rough. We knew this schedule was going to be very difficult to get through early on. And that's the way it's playing out. You had a golden opportunity tonight, though, to beat Memphis. You really did. When Ja Morant scores 22 points, you feel like you got a good chance to win that basketball game. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So the first 2 things, defense, and then also the rotations. Got to figure those 2 things out. And I think it's rather obvious after watching this team through the first 4 games, they need another body. They need another wing. They need another 3/4 who can shoot a little bit. That's what's hurting them. They don't have enough size, and they don't have enough, scoring at the wing position. Davion's got to get going. Again, when you look at it, I know he hit a 3 in the fourth quarter, but when you look at his minutes, Davion played 12 minutes. He had 7 points. Davion has to get going. Malik Monk, he was a bright spot, especially in the second half. So that's back-to-back good games for Monk, which is nice to see. Monk and Fox had that Kentucky combination working in the third quarter. That was really the last bit of excitement. That was the last bit of juice for this basketball team. You had Monk and you had Fox feeding off of each other. And then I thought they had a couple of sloppy possessions. They gave up some easy buckets on the other end, and it was game, set, match from that point moving forward. But when you look at this bench, Davion's not shooting well. Metu's not a shooter. KZ's not a shooter. Monecki's not a shooter. Terrence Davis has played well this year. Tonight, he was not good. Davis shot 1 of 5 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3. He scored 3 points. He was a -14. So you go down the list of people from this bench, and, man, oh, man, there's just not a lot of scoring options on this bench if Davion and Terrence Davis don't have it going. And that forces you to be small when you play both of those guys. Justin Corliss, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly there, your last name. Memphis had the second best record in the NBA last year. Maybe expectations are a little too high, LOL. Look, I thought this game was, this game was winnable, certainly in the second half. You got within, 3 points in the second half, and then you just imploded. Yeah, sure, Memphis is favored. Memphis should win this game. But what I don't want to do is always sit there and say, well, the Kings are the underdog tonight, so they're going to lose. That's it, right? It's over. I mean, at some point, if you want this team to be a play-in team this year, they have to beat a good team. They have to beat somebody that you say, okay, that gives us some hope. So, yes, Memphis is one of the best teams in the league stemming from last year, and they're deep. And, you saw the tough shots, some of the tough shots they made tonight. But you still have to look at these problems, and you need to correct them. You can't be losing 4 straight and losing 125 to 110 on your home floor. You got to give us something more than that. You have to. Another thing that I wanted to talk about here, and as long as you guys stay here, I'll stay here as well, talking to all of you and kind of venting and getting it out. When you look at something else, I wanted to highlight this. Closeouts of quarters. That's something that killed the Kings tonight. They got off to a great start. I mentioned this on the show, Cattles and Rami, 3 to 6, Sactown Sports. I mentioned this on the show this week. Everybody's saying, oh, Keegan, as long as he finishes the game. The issue with that is you got off to bad starts. If you looked at these games, you got off to a number of bad starts, right? You were down by 9 against Portland after the first quarter. You were down by a couple against the Clippers after the first quarter. Golden State, a 12-2 run to start that game, and then Coach Brown had the quick trigger to pull out KZ and put Keegan into the game. Bad starts. Well, they had a great start tonight. The starting 5 had a great start tonight. They had all the momentum, and they were all feeling good. Then the bench came in. The bench stalled all the action. The bench played terrible. They couldn't score. They couldn't come up with stops. And so what ends up happening is in the final 4 minutes and 24 seconds, and I had told you guys earlier, for those jumping in right now, in the first half, the bench plus minus was -57. The starters were a +22. Your starting 5 wasn't the issue. So when you look at that first quarter specifically, in the final 4 minutes and 24 seconds, Memphis went on a 19-5 run. It's a killer. A 19-5 run in the final 4 minutes and 24 seconds of that first quarter. So all of the work that you did, all of the good work that the starters gave you to start that game, it all ended. It all died. 19-5 run at the end of the first quarter, and now Memphis is rolling. Now you jump ahead. You jump ahead to the third quarter. Again, you had that nice run. Fox and Monk playing off of each other. Fantastic run. The crowd's going crazy. I'm excited here on my couch. I'm pumped and jacked about the run. And then what happens? How do you finish the third quarter? You finish the third quarter by allowing Memphis to go on an 8-0 run. So in the first quarter, Memphis closes it out 19-5. In the third quarter, Memphis closes it out 8-0. And because of that, you're staring at an 11-point deficit going into the fourth quarter. You got outscored 8-0 in the final moments of the fourth quarter. And now instead of being down 3 points, 4 points, couple of possessions, right? You're now down by 11. And you feel like that mountain you've got to climb is even taller. And when you look at the first quarter, again, as I said, 19-5 run, right, to end that first quarter. Remember, going into the second quarter, this was a 4-point game. It was 32-28. Memphis is up by 4 heading into the second quarter. So with that 19-5 run, you're outscored by 14 points, and you go into the second quarter now down 4. If you don't get outscored 19-5 in the final 4.5 minutes of that first quarter, now you're looking at maybe a 4-point game, a 6-point game. These things add up. Defense, rotations, your bench not playing well, having too many guys on the floor at the same time that can't score the basketball and keep you into the game, because guess what? Your defense stinks. And if your defense is giving up easy buckets, you need guys to come back and score on the other end. So when you start to look at this, it all starts to really, really, really build up. And the closeout's something else that bothered me tonight. Akash, let me see what Akash has to say here. He says, they say good culture brings out the best in people. Toxic culture like the Kings brings out the worst in players, which we're seeing in Sabonis. Yeah, let's talk about Sabonis. What are you guys thinking about Sabonis? Look, I thought he got off to a very good start tonight. Sabonis got off to the first 5 or 6 minutes. His first stint in the first quarter, I thought he was good. I thought he was, aggressive. I thought he was doing a good job against Adams. He was getting rebounds. He was that interior force. And then it went away. After the first 6 minutes of this game, Domas, again, kind of he mostly slid into the shadows. Now, when you look at his totals, 10 points, 10 rebounds, 11 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. So he's 11, 10, and 9 on the night. I would love to go back, and I can't grab the game book right now because it's too early. I would love to go back and look at the game book. I would love to see what Sabonis' statistics were after the first quarter, because it felt like the second quarter through the fourth quarter, he did not have a gigantic impact on this basketball game. So you can look at 11, 10, and 9, and you can feel good about it. He also had 4 turnovers, way too many. Fox had 5 turnovers. So Sabonis and Fox combined 9 turnovers, too many from those two guys. But Sabonis started off great. In like a lion, out like a lamb. He kind of just fell apart the second through the fourth quarter. And I thought in stretches, he had some issues. Rafi says no interior defense. Rafi, it's something we've talked about on the show. I'm sure Dave and Jason have talked about this. You don't have a rim protector. Rashawn Holmes isn't really that guy. Sabonis is not a rim protector. He'll block a shot every once in a while because he's 6'11", but he's not going to protect the rim. So what this does, Rafi, is it puts a lot of pressure on your on-ball defense. And what the Kings are doing is they're switching defensively, at least at times. And when you switch defensively, on-ball defense, if the communication is off, right? If somebody gets caught napping, it blows up in your face. And if you have guys getting to the paint like tonight, you get to the point tonight, right? The paint tonight, and you see what's going on. Guys are getting to the paint. Their dribble drives are effective. Well, guess what's going to happen? You're either going to suck into the paint and try to protect the rim because you know you don't have a rim protector, or you're going to suck into the paint, and the person who dribble drives, if they see only Sabonis there or one of your wings trying to defend at the rim, well, guess what? That person's going to attack the rim and try to score. Now, if you suck in multiple defenders, that ball handler is going to find the open shooter. And if you have a good shooting team like Memphis, they're going to knock those shots down. So that's some of the issues that you see right now happening. Ricky Nolan says, play Monk and Fox more. It's going to be interesting. Look, I've been steadfast. Fox, Herter, Barnes, Murray, Domas as your starting five. I've said that since the beginning of the preseason and camp. That would be my starting five, right? But now when you look at this bench, if Davion doesn't step up, then you might have to put Herter in there as your sixth man and start Monk and Fox. The problem, though, is now you're just replacing one for the other, right? Who said the Michael Scott office? Snip, snap, snip, snap. Now you're just replacing. Now you're taking Monk's points off the bench. And Monk had, 15 the other night, I think, against Golden State. And tonight he had 15. So Monk's giving you 15 points back-to-back games. Well, now if you take him and you put him next to Fox, okay, so defensively you take a step back. Offensively, you take a step forward. But now you're putting Herter on the bench to replace Monk's offense, and it's pretty much even Steven. So it's going to be very, very difficult to put these pieces together unless, Davion shows up and scores, unless you get something more from Davion, unless one of these wings can give you something. Look, there's no doubt. The wing position, the wing depth, and I talked about this in the offseason, the wing depth is a big question. If you're not going to play Herter at the 3, which you might have to move Herter to the 3. And if you do that, now you start Monk, right? So you could put Barnes on the bench. Barnes slides to the bench. You start Herter at the 3, Monk at the 2. But again, Barnes isn't your offensive answer either off of the bench. They need a wing that can come off of the bench and score the damn basketball. And until they have that, it's going to be difficult. Steve Schoen, Brown was supposed to bring a defensive mindset. I don't see it. None, zero defensive mindset. Please. Look, I think Brown is trying to bring the defensive mindset, but he has what he has to work with. And so there's a problem where, you've got Monk, not a great defender. Herter is solid. Davion is really good, as we know. I think Fox has been engaged. It's kind of like team defensive breakdowns that's killing them. It's miscommunication that's killing them. It's transition that's killing them. It's a lack of size. And again, the lack of the rim protection. J Joe 77, I'll throw you up here as well. Again, thanks guys for hanging with me on this Thursday night. Tough loss. We're just going to try to talk ourselves through this one. What is Holmes even doing out there? Look at that stat line. Awful. It was pretty interesting because I thought Len gave them some pretty decent minutes. Look, he's not going to score 20 points. He's Alex Len. But I thought Len came in late in that second quarter and he gave him some pretty decent minutes, and then he didn't play in the second half. So I don't want to sit here and just absolutely crush Mike Brown and say, what the hell's going on here? But, there are some things tonight with the rotations. I understand that you're searching. I understand that you're trying to figure it out. But the Monecki, Metu combination on the floor at the same time was a killer. The big man minutes between Holmes and Len did not make much sense to me. I did not see Holmes do anything tonight really worthwhile, honestly. So I agree with J Joe 77. Like, if Holmes isn't giving you anything, then try Alex Len. I mean, we're almost at the point where, we might be calling for Neemias Queta if Holmes can't figure it out, because Holmes is giving them nothing. He is giving them nothing at all. And that's going to be a killer. Monk is a better defender than Herter, Daniel Marsh says. Yeah, I wouldn't agree with that. I would not agree with that. I think I'd still give Herter the edge. I think Herter is the better defender. But Monk, Monk at times he just has these possessions defensively that he's just not competitive, and that kills you. So I would still give the edge to Herter. Muhammad Suleiman says that Baines is tough. Yeah, man. I mean, my freaking goodness. Desmond Bane, 31 points, 11 of 18 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3. He hit a dagger. He hit an absolute dagger of a 3. You know which one I'm talking about. In the fourth quarter. So this was a critical stretch in this game. So Kings go on a 10-0 run. And I give credit to Davion and Terrence Davis. TD and Davion. Davion hits the 3. TD hits that nice step back 3. The Kings go on a 10-zip run. And they're back in the game. and Memphis calls a timeout. At that point, honestly, I thought Brown should have put Fox and Sabonis back into the game at that point, because there was a nice 10-0 run. You had some momentum, try to build off of that. Brown didn't. So you come back out, and then after that 10-0 run, you had 2 killer threes. You play a great defensive possession, and Desmond Bane kills you with a dagger of a 3. I mean, you could not play that possession any better than the Kings did. You tip your cap to Desmond Bane, a big-time shot, and that really kind of stemmed the momentum. And then after the Bane 3, you had another 3 from LaRavia. Those back-to-back threes, the Bane 3 and the LaRavia 3, absolute freaking killers in that fourth quarter, because you did make that 10-0 run, and you started to kind of rustle away some of that momentum. And man, oh man, those threes absolutely kill you. Ricky Nolan says, I'm starting to like Herter, but I just don't see his defense. Again, he's solid. He's not great. I do think he's better than Monk defensively, but we're not talking about somebody who's going to lock you down, okay? Mr. All Red Everything, my guy that's always checking us out in the afternoon, says, put Domas and Barnes trade feelers out now. This is not a winning roster. Look, guys, here's how I feel, because we've talked about this team a lot, and I still feel like this team is more talented than any other team we've seen from the Kings in quite some time. My buddy Frankie Carticelli at SactownSports.com, he's been known to say that this is the most talented roster in at least 10 years in Sacramento. Guys are not playing at their level. Like when you look, and that's why we say on paper, when you looked at this roster, Davion, right? You expected a lot more out of Davion. He's been bad. Domas, 2-time All-Star, the way he played last year with Fox, right? I don't know if he's having an issue picking up this offensive system. I don't know some of it is bad spacing by his teammates, right? Some of it is teammates missing some shots. But Domas has not looked like the same guy that he was before his injury last year when he and Fox were playing great basketball. So Domas, on paper, 2-time All-Star, he's playing under his level. So Harrison Barnes, and I give credit to Barnes. If there's one good thing about tonight, HB played pretty well. He especially played well in the first half. But, I mean, HB finished with 20 points. He's been bad this year. So that was one of the good things that came out of tonight. HB giving you 20 points. And I thought right from the jump, it was rather obvious that, like, the first set that they ran, if they were running a set, the first time they get the basketball to HB, first possession, right into Barnes. So, Harrison up until tonight playing well below his level. So theoretically, when you looked at this roster on paper, you said this team's 8, 9, 10 deep. But Rashawn Holmes has been bad. Davion has been bad. Barnes was bad until tonight. And you just start to look around, you go, man, oh man, what is now all of a sudden a team that you thought was 8, 9, 10 deep is like, 4, 5, 6 deep. It's a killer. Just a few more minutes here with you guys. Let's see. Herter. Here's something to look at and keep an eye on as we talk about Kevin Herter. He had that injury. Late in the second quarter with the collision. Let's keep an eye on that. Maybe you guys saw him come back into the game. And if you did, help me here on the chat in the YouTube channel here. But I believe he came out to play the third quarter. But I believe Herter left the game in the third quarter with 8 minutes and 14 seconds left. I don't think we saw him play the rest of the game. I think Herter sat the rest of the game. He left the court at 8:14. Yeah, it had to be. So he leaves the floor at 8:14 in the third quarter. He's done for the rest of the night. He had 19 minutes tonight. And I don't think, maybe it's a case of Coach Brown saying, sit down because I don't like what I'm seeing from you. I don't think that's it. I think Herter was banged up with that collision. He went to the locker room. There was some concern at halftime whether or not he was going to be able to play. He came back. He played in the third quarter. But again, within 4 minutes, he's taken out of the game. We didn't see him for the rest of the night. So that's not good. As much as he's not a great defender, you need Kevin Herter. You need Kevin Herter on this team right now. If Herter has some kind of injury and he's going to miss some time, that is just humongous. That is a humongous miss for this basketball team. So something to keep an eye on. Herter status going into Saturday's game against a very tough Miami Heat team. That's a tough injury if Herter can't go. Fox and Murray were fine. I thought Fox was fine. He was more quiet in the second half than he was in the first half, but I thought Fox was fine. The one thing about Fox, he was fine scoring. The one thing about Fox tonight, 2 assists. That's a very low assist number. 2 assists and 3 turnovers. So 2 assists, 3 turnovers from Fox. But I thought, for the most part, he was good. 11 of 19 from the floor, 2 of 6 from 3. I would not put this on Fox at all. I thought he was fine. I also thought Keegan. Let's talk about Keegan for a couple minutes. How'd you guys feel about Keegan? I thought Keegan was really good in the first half. I thought, that he was trying to find buckets in the second half. The foul call I thought was trash. Absolute trash foul call. I don't know what you expect a guy driving to the bucket. What's he supposed to do? What, you're jumping. You're jumping to the bucket, right? You're exploding to the basket and your leg goes up. If you're exploding to the basket and your leg goes up, but what are you supposed to do if you're Keegan Murray? Is he supposed to jump up like this with his legs straight? What the hell is that? What you're supposed to just like you're Superman and you're supposed to vault towards the rim with your legs perfectly straight? Like he's going up in a layup motion and Adams comes over. And I thought Adams was a little late, number 1. I thought Adams was in the restricted area, number 2. I don't know what Keegan is supposed to do on that play. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to stop guys from intentionally drilling dudes in the groin with their knee or their foot, whatever. But I don't know what Keegan is supposed to do on that play. It's trash. Thought it was trash. But I thought Keegan was good. I really thought Keegan was good. At times, when you look at Keegan, the one thing I want to keep paying attention to, and I think we all have to, is Keegan getting looks consistently. There are stretches where it feels like Keegan's not out there. And this was my concern when we talked about the Rookie of the Year stuff, and I said Paolo Banchero is going to win Rookie of the Year, and he's been tremendous for Orlando. It's because of opportunity. Paolo's going to get all the shots he wants. I mean, he's going to get 20 shots a night if he wants them. For Keegan has to play off of the other guys. That's his role with this team. And I just feel like at times they don't get him the basketball. And he goes 2-3 minutes without a shot. And that could, you could lose your rhythm. You could lose your flow. So keep an eye on that. Are they giving him consistent opportunities? Steven Schoen, let's see what he has to say. I would like to say what's trash is NBA officiating has been trash for a long time. Really surprised they haven't lost fans. They may lose me soon. Yeah, the officiating can be much better. Don't get it twisted. This team's not 0-4 because of the officiating, and I don't think Steven is saying that. But yeah, the officiating can be much better. Much better. A couple of other things. Let me see. Barnes was better. And finally, we'll end on this tonight, everybody. And again, thanks for joining us here on the Sactown Sports Kings recap. We do this after every single game this season. Myself, Rami, Carmichael Dave, Chris Watkins, we will be here to either celebrate the wins or mourn the losses. And unfortunately, I thought I was going to bring a W to us tonight. I didn't. So we're 0-4. But one more thing I did want to bring up because it's been talked about an awful lot. Free throws. 18 of 22 tonight. 18 of 22. So that went well. The Kings shot 82% from the free throw line. That was nice to see. They also had another good number, 28 assists. They had 28 assists on 40 baskets. 28 assists on 40 buckets. That's a really good number. 28 assists is a great number. So, the free throws were good. The assist number was good. I thought Fox was mostly good. Murray was good. Barnes came to life a little bit, which was nice to see. Monk gave you good minutes off the bench for the second straight game, which is good. So there were some good things about tonight. It wasn't all awful. There were some good things tonight. I thought the starting 5 played pretty well, especially to start the game in that first quarter. So there were some quality things. The other quick point I want to make, 3-point shooting. Here's the thing. I understand that you want to take threes, and I understand that's where basketball has evolved. But I'll tell you what, man. Like when you look at this, they shot 12 of 38 from three. That's 31.6%. Now, that's not Lakers bad. The Lakers suck. But when you look at 31.6% from three-point land, I thought there were a number of threes that were rushed. I thought there were some bad threes tonight. So I don't have a problem with taking threes if they are the right threes. Are you getting paint touches and kicking it out for those open threes? What is going on? What creates the three, so to speak? Is it isolation three? Is it step back three? Is it a contested three? Is it a three that's open off the dribble drive? Is it a three off of multiple touches or the dribble handoffs? What do those threes look like? 31.6%, 12 of 38 from three. That's a lot of threes to take and a lot of threes missed. And on the other side, you had Memphis 14 of 33 for 42%. So there you have it. I mean, we've got the fourth loss in a row to start this season, 0-4. Kings go down to Memphis 125-110. We appreciate all of you guys and gals sticking with us here with the Sactown Sports Kings recap. Again, we'll do this after every single game. Myself, Rami, Dave, and Chris Watkins. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the traffic that we've been getting at YouTube. If it wasn't for all of you watching this and getting involved and being invested, then we would not have a brand. So as the program director of the brand, I appreciate every single one of you. And we're doing, we're growing and we're developing here. And I can't be happier with some of the things that we've seen. And it's all because of you guys. So unfortunately, it's an L. Hopefully on Saturday, it's a W. Until then, again, I appreciate all of you. And we'll be back on Saturday following the game. And just remember, youtube.com, Sactown Sports 1140. And if you subscribe, you get notified of the shoot as it pops up. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Everybody, hit the like button. Have a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow with Rami, 3 to 6 on Sactown Sports.